Man is a creature of infinite power if he would but awaken to his authority. Every word he utters is a decree, every thought a mold into which his world is cast. To speak is to command, and to command is to change. When one realizes this great truth, he ceases to live by default and begins to live by design. The old order of things may cry out for repetition, but the spirit within always seeks transformation. Change is not chaos. It is divine order unfolding in new and better ways. You are not bound by the patterns of yesterday unless you cling to them. The moment you speak differently, you live differently. You stand, this very instant, at the gate of change. It need not come slowly. It need not come with strain. The law is instant and unfailing when used in faith. Speak now what you desire. Say it not with fear, but with boldness, knowing that you are backed by the infinite substance of the universe. There is no power outside of you that holds sway over your good unless you give it that power. The command is always yours. Many people cry, "I want change." Yet their words remain tangled in the vocabulary of limitation. "I can't. It's hard. I've tried." These are not commands to change, but affirmations of stagnation. The word is your wand. It creates, it releases, it rearranges. If you would see the world shift, shift your language. If you would see the new, speak the new. Say, "Everything is working together for my good." Say, "Change comes easily and joyfully to me." Say, "I am in command of my life, and I welcome the new with confidence." These are not idle phrases, they are blueprints. They summon invisible forces to arrange people, places, and possibilities in your favor. You cannot change the outer by remaining the same within. You must speak as one already changed. Imagine the self you wish to become and give that self a voice. The moment you do, you set divine law in motion. Let go of the old, not with regret, but with gratitude, for it brought you here. Now, you speak a new command. You write a new decree upon the ethers. And life, always obedient, reshapes itself to your word. Your words are commands that shape your reality. This truth, though simple, holds immense power, yet few truly grasp it. The spoken word is not just sound or expression. It is law in motion, a decree that shapes the unseen into the seen. When a person speaks, they are not merely communicating, they are constructing, issuing instructions to the invisible forces that govern life. Every word carries vibration, intention, and energetic authority, and the universe obeys the command whether the speaker is aware of their power or not. The law does not distinguish between idle talk and deliberate affirmation. It responds to the tone, belief, and emotion behind the word. Therefore, when one says, "I am always unlucky," the law registers it as a command and brings forth experiences to match it. When someone continually declares, "Money is hard to come by," they unknowingly issue a standing order for lack and limitation. The outer world is not the master, it is the mirror. What one sees around them is the reflection of what has been said within and aloud. Many believe their circumstances are the result of fate, heredity, or chance, but these are only shadows cast by the continual repetition of the same mental and verbal patterns. Words set those patterns into form. A man may say, "I never succeed," and wonder why success eludes him, not realizing that he has already written failure into the blueprint of his life. The spoken word molds thought into form, thought into experience, thought into matter. It is not necessary to speak loudly or dramatically for the command to take effect. The still, calm word spoken with belief has more power than 1,000 shouted without faith. It is the consciousness behind the word that makes it magnetic. A word spoken with fear calls forth fear's children. A word spoken in faith draws the hosts of heaven. There is nothing haphazard about creation. It is a precise system of cause and effect, and the cause always begins with the word. The scriptures say, "In the beginning was the Word," and it is still so. Every beginning, every new chapter, every breakthrough begins with a word. Whether whispered in prayer, spoken in casual conversation, or uttered in passing complaint, the word carries weight. It travels forth, gathers substance, and returns as reality. This is why it is essential to guard the lips and train the tongue to speak only what one truly wishes to experience. Idle words create active consequences. To speak is to sow. The soil is the subconscious, ever ready to receive. The harvest is inevitable. One cannot continually speak of lack, worry, sickness, or struggle and expect a life of abundance, peace, health, and joy. The law is too exact, too unfailing. It is not cruel but just. It gives each according to their decree. The wise one begins to choose their words as a gardener chooses their seed, with care, purpose, and foresight. Even in jest, even in habit, the word is potent. How often do people speak of dying to do something, or declare, "This always happens to me," not realizing they are cementing those experiences into their future? The universe does not have a sense of humor. It has a sense of order. It fulfills the words spoken with focus, whether that focus is joyful or anxious, clear or confused. Every statement sends a message to the creative substance of life, and that substance obeys. This is not about superficial positivity or empty mantras. The word must be aligned with belief. To say, "I am wealthy," while inwardly expecting struggle is to create confusion. But to say, "Wealth flows to me in surprising ways," with genuine openness and expectation, is to make a command that the universe can fulfill without resistance. The alignment of word and inner state is what produces the miracle. One cannot fool the law, but one can align with it. Children speak with authority because they do not yet doubt the power of their word. They declare, "I am a superhero," and in their world, it becomes so. Adults, clouded by logic and past experience, often speak with hesitation, apology, or fear. They have forgotten that they, too, once commanded worlds with a whisper. To return to that place of inner certainty is to reclaim the power of the word. It is not about becoming something new. It is about remembering what has always been true. The greatest transformations begin with a change in language. When a person who once said, "Nothing ever works out for me," begins to say, "Everything is working together for my highest good," the entire fabric of their life begins to shift. It may not happen in a moment, but it begins in a moment, the moment the word changes. That moment is the turning point. The command goes forth, and life rearranges itself accordingly. This law operates whether or not one is spiritually minded or religious. It is not dependent on belief in a particular doctrine. It is a universal principle, like gravity, responding to vibration, intention, and energy. A scientist, a poet, a mother, or a laborer all speak into existence their reality through the words they use. The titles do not matter. The law responds to the speaker, not the label. The difference between struggle and success, between confusion and clarity, between lack and abundance often lies in a single shift of language. Not grand speeches or poetic verses, but small daily declarations. Instead of, "I can't afford this," say, "How can I afford this?" Instead of, "I'm always tired," say, "I am restoring my energy." These are not lies, they are invitations to a better reality. They are choices made consciously to command something new. Each morning, as the sun rises, the words spoken into the air create the framework for the day. To begin with complaint is to command discord. To begin with gratitude is to command harmony. Even the most mundane words, spoken over breakfast, while getting dressed, during a phone call, carry the seed of future experience. To live with this awareness is not to become fearful or rigid, but empowered. One begins to choose words like treasures, each one valuable, each one shaping the path ahead. People often ask for change, pray for miracles, or wish for a new life, not realizing that the answer lies on their own tongue. They wait for the world to change before they speak differently. But the world does not lead, the word leads. The outer cannot shift without an inner command. That command is not shouted, begged, or forced. It is spoken, firmly and faithfully, as a master issues instructions to a trusted servant. Life is that servant waiting, listening, ready to obey. Change begins the moment you speak it with conviction. Nothing moves until something is declared. The universe, vast and responsive, awaits a signal, a spark of focused intention carried by the spoken word. The moment you speak, you initiate, You may not see the effects instantly, but the currents begin to shift the moment the command is released. You are not waiting for life to change. Life is waiting for you to speak change into it. That is the divine paradox. The external responds to the internal, and the internal gains momentum through declaration. Most people wait for signs, for better circumstances, for something outside themselves to show them it's time to begin anew. They linger in delay, hoping that life will first improve before they choose better words. But the flow does not work that way. It begins within. You must speak what you seek. You must name the change. A decision is made with words, quiet or loud, it does not matter. The energy behind it makes all the difference. Conviction gives the word wings. To speak with conviction is to speak from a place of knowing, even when physical evidence has not yet arrived. It is to stand in faith when logic trembles. It is to use the power of your word to build the bridge from the unseen to the seen. Many whisper timid hopes into the wind, unsure if their voice carries any weight. But when you speak with certainty, with emotional alignment, with an inner yes, the air shifts. Change is not coerced into being, it is commanded. The power of speech lies not merely in sound, but in certainty. You may speak something dozens of times with no change, simply because you do not believe it. But say it once with full conviction, and the wheels of destiny turn. There is no need for repetition without faith. One declaration, spoken with soul, surpasses 1,000 empty affirmations. Conviction opens the gate and the river flows. A person may live in the same conditions for years, believing they are stuck, until one day they speak a different word. Enough. I'm ready for something new. That one moment, that clear decision vocalized with power, marks the beginning of transformation. It is not always dramatic or visible, but internally, a shift occurs. The word cuts through the fog. The statement becomes a sword, dividing the old from the new. There is before the word, and there is after. It is not necessary to know every step ahead. The command to change does not require a map, only a voice. Speak the end from the beginning. Declare the new before it arrives. Say, I am aligned with abundance, even if the bank account is empty. Say, I am healthy and whole, even if symptoms persist. You are not lying. You are leading. You are not ignoring reality. You are reordering it through the higher law of belief. Conviction is the signal that tells the universe, this one is ready. Conviction is not force. It is not the clenched jaw or the shouting demand. It is the still, rooted tone that says, this is who I am now. There is no need to argue, no need to convince. When conviction is real, there is no inner contradiction. The whole being is aligned. You do not speak one thing and think another. You do not affirm light while secretly fearing the dark. You are united in intention, word, and emotion. In this state, your word is magnetic. People often speak what they see, not what they desire. They speak their complaints, their doubts, their history. But this only extends the current reality. True change requires speaking beyond the scene. It demands a bold word in the face of contradiction. To speak change with conviction is to become the author of a new narrative. It is not to ignore facts, but to declare a higher truth. You say, I choose peace, not because all is peaceful, but because peace is now your command. You say, I rise, not because you have risen, but because your voice lifts you. Each time you speak with power, you are shifting timelines. You are stepping into alignment with a future that matches your words. The conviction with which you speak determines the speed and precision of that alignment. Half-hearted words create confusion. Words spoken with fear create resistance. But words rooted in faith draw the fulfillment swiftly. You do not need to know how. It is not your task to orchestrate the path. Your role is to speak the command with belief. Change does not require external permission. You do not need approval from others, signs from the heavens, or confirmation from circumstances. You only need to declare. The most profound changes often begin in silence, with one decisive statement whispered in the solitude of your soul. That one moment of clarity sends out ripples that touch everything. The outside may seem unchanged for a time, but the seed has been planted. and the harvest is inevitable. Many fear to speak change because they do not want to be disappointed. They say, "What if I declare and nothing happens?" But the greater risk is in saying nothing. The greater danger is in letting fear steal your voice. Your word is not powerless. It is powerful when spoken with conviction. And even if the change unfolds slowly, even if it comes disguised in unexpected ways, it will come. The law cannot deny the word that is aligned with truth and spoken in full belief. To speak change is to break the cycle. It is to interrupt the momentum of the past and insert a new pattern. The longer one waits to speak the word, the more entrenched the old story becomes. But the moment the word of change is declared, the energy begins to reorganize. Delay ends. A new vibration enters the field. This is not imagination, it is creation. You are not daydreaming, you are commanding. Change does not obey the clock, it obeys the word. There is no right time but now, and now responds to conviction. Every time you declare, "I am ready," you advance. Every time you say, "I choose better," the old begins to dissolve. The word carries the blueprint, and the blueprint becomes structure. This is how all new realities are built. On spoken conviction, firm and fearless. To speak change is to honor your power. It is to stop waiting and start creating. The moment you say, "I am not who I was," something shifts. The moment you say, "This is my new story," the pages begin to turn. Even if you do not yet see the full picture, trust the echo of your voice. The universe has heard it. The vibration has been registered. Life has received its new instruction. It is not about shouting into the void. It is about speaking from within the silence with authority. You may be standing in the same room, in the same clothes, surrounded by the same people. But once your word changes, so does everything else. The inner signal is stronger than the outer scene. Speak with conviction, and the unseen moves in your favor. Conviction is the key that turns the lock. It is the yes that opens doors. It is the light that reveals the path. When you say, "I am no longer available for what no longer serves me," the world listens. When you say, "I receive my good now," the energy aligns. The moment you speak change with conviction, you are no longer bound by history. You are free. Limiting language blocks transformation. Words are not simply tools for expression, they are containers of belief. Every sentence spoken carries within it an assumption, a seed of reality that takes root in the subconscious and grows according to the energy behind it. When you speak in terms of limitation, phrases like, "I can't," "It's too late," "I'm not good enough," or "This always happens to me," you are not merely describing your life. You are prescribing it. You are placing invisible walls around what is possible and instructing life to conform to those boundaries. The subconscious mind does not argue or reason. It accepts repeated statements as truth and acts accordingly. If you continuously affirm that success is difficult, that love never lasts, or that opportunities are scarce, then your inner world molds itself around those declarations. And as within, so without. Life becomes a mirror, reflecting those inner limits outward into relationships, career, health, and self-worth. There is no neutral language. Every word either expands or contracts your experience. People often do not realize the power behind their most casual statements. "I'm terrible with money," they say with a shrug, unaware they are issuing a command. "I never catch a break," they joke, reinforcing a cycle of resistance. Even phrases used for politeness or self-deprecation can become powerful affirmations. The law is not concerned with tone or intention, it responds to vibration. A negative phrase spoken with humor still carries the energetic imprint of limitation. Limiting language becomes habitual, a kind of linguistic muscle memory formed over years of repetition and observation. It is passed down through families, reinforced by cultural norms, and solidified through past experiences. We've always struggled with this. One might say, believing it is simply a fact. But what seems factual is often only a repeated pattern, a story told so often it has become real. Changing the language is the first step toward changing the story. You cannot speak of lack and expect abundance. You cannot speak of sickness and expect vitality. You cannot speak fear and live in peace. The words must match the desired outcome. If they do not, there is contradiction, and contradiction stalls momentum. The energy becomes divided. One part of you hopes for transformation, while another part continues to reinforce the very state you seek to leave behind. In this tug of war, the stronger side always wins, and often, the limiting language has been spoken so long it has become louder than your desire. To break free from limitation, you must become aware of your words. Begin to notice the phrases you use unconsciously. Pay attention to what you declare about yourself, your circumstances, and others. Language is not only what you speak out loud, it is also what you whisper in your mind. Thoughts are unspoken words, and they carry the same weight. Replacing limiting language with empowered language is not pretending. It is reprogramming. It is rewriting the script that governs your reality. You may think, but I'm only telling the truth. And yet, truth is fluid. What you declare as true becomes true for you. You are not denying facts when you choose better words. You are choosing to align with a higher possibility. Saying, "I'm learning how to manage money wisely," is not denying your current struggle. It is reframing it in a way that opens the door to change. Saying, "I'm becoming stronger every day," is not ignoring pain. It is commanding growth. There is a vast difference between observation and identification. You can observe a challenge without identifying with it. You can acknowledge the facts of a moment without making them your identity. Limiting language blurs this line. It fuses the temporary with the permanent. It turns passing feelings into fixed labels. "I'm anxious" becomes more than a description. It becomes a definition. And once something is defined, it is repeated. And once it is repeated, it becomes reality. The transformation begins with subtle shifts. Instead of saying, "I always fail," say, "I've learned from my past and I'm growing." Instead of, "I never get what I want," say, "Good things are beginning to flow into my life." These are not lies, they are realignments. They open the channel for a new experience. The subconscious accepts these new commands and begins to work in their direction. Energy follows intention, and intention is expressed through words. Some will resist this idea, thinking it's too simplistic. They may say, "Words can't change everything." But look around. Everything you now experience was once described by words. Someone said, "Let's build this. Let's go there. This is who I am. This is what I'll do." Words precede actions. Words shape beliefs. Beliefs shape behavior. Behavior shapes outcomes. The transformation of any life begins not at the level of doing, but at the level of speaking. Children understand this intuitively. They speak in possibility. They say, "I can be anything. I can do anything. Watch me." There is no limitation in their vocabulary until it is taught to them. Over time, they learn to speak caution instead of courage, doubt instead of determination. But the original voice remains within. To rediscover your power, you must rediscover your original language, the language of expansion, hope, and creative command. Limiting language not only affects the self, but also influences those around you. When you continually speak discouragement, fear, or doubt, you project that limitation onto others. You dim their vision as well as your own. Conversely, when you speak with belief, encouragement, and optimism, you uplift those within your field. Your words become permission for others to grow. Your speech becomes a vessel of transformation, not just for you, but for your environment. The shift in language often precedes any visible change. People may look at their lives and say, "But nothing's different yet," as if waiting for the outer world to validate the new words. But transformation begins invisibly. First within the energy field, then in behavior, then in circumstance. The seed is spoken, the roots form, the sprout emerges. Just because you cannot see the result yet does not mean it is not forming. Trust the process, and keep speaking in alignment with the future you desire. To eliminate limiting language, you must replace it with conscious language. This requires attention, commitment, and repetition. Begin with simple affirmations that feel believable. Choose statements that open rather than close. Avoid absolutes like always and never, and instead use words like beginning, growing, becoming. These words signal motion, evolution, and expansion. They tell the subconscious we are no longer stuck. This is not about perfection. You will still catch yourself slipping into old patterns. What matters is the awareness and the willingness to correct course. Each time you replace a limiting phrase with an empowering one, you weaken the old neural pathway and strengthen a new one. Eventually, the empowering language becomes the default. You begin to speak from your potential, not your past. Language is your magic. It is the spell you cast each day. It is the code that writes your reality. Speak limitation, and you will see it. Speak freedom, and you will feel it. Speak expansion, and you will live it. Your voice is the pen, and your life is the canvas. Choose the words that paint the picture you want to live inside. Speak as the person you desire to become. This is not about pretending or playing a role. It is about aligning your vibration with your vision. Every word you speak is either a reflection of your past or a declaration of your future. When you choose to speak from the self you wish to embody, you begin to collapse the distance between where you are and where you are going. The voice carries identity, and when the identity shifts, reality follows. If you continually speak as the version of yourself bound by limitation, fear, or failure, you prolong that experience. But when you speak with the confidence, clarity, and certainty of the future version of you, the version that already has what you seek, you step into a different frequency. That frequency draws matching experiences. This principle is not built on fantasy, it is built on energetic law. Who you identify as becomes what you expect. What you expect becomes how you act. How you act becomes what you receive. Speaking from your future self is an act of creative intention. It is how you summon the unseen. You do not wait for the outer world to catch up. You speak as though it already has. You declare, you affirm, you claim. Not because it is already visible, but because it is already real in the unseen. You begin to treat the invisible as more powerful than the visible. Many wait for change before they shift their language. They wait until the success arrives to call themselves successful. They wait for the relationship to declare themselves worthy of love. They wait for healing before they speak of strength. But this delay traps them in the old identity. The becoming never begins because the declaration never does. You do not have to fake confidence. You have to speak from the part of you that already knows. That part exists within. It is not an invention, but a revelation. It speaks through inspiration, through vision, through the inner yes that rises when you imagine something more. You are always speaking from some version of yourself. The question is which one? Are your words shaped by the self who feels stuck, small, afraid? Or are they shaped by the self who has already risen, who already knows, who already sees the mountaintop? To speak as your future self is to bring that version of you into the now. It is to pull the dream into the present through the bridge of your voice. Your words are time travelers. They carry energy across timelines. They send signals into the quantum field, telling it which version of you to materialize. This does not mean ignoring your present circumstances. It means refusing to let them define your vocabulary. It means speaking from a deeper truth than what is currently visible. You may be facing debt, but you speak as someone who manages money wisely and calls in abundance. You may be feeling lonely, but you speak as someone who is magnetic to loving, supportive relationships. This is not delusion, it is creation. You are not denying what is, you are declaring what will be. And the declaration sets the shift in motion. The moment you speak from your desired self, you change your posture. You carry yourself differently. You make different choices. You say yes to what aligns and no to what doesn't. Your boundaries shift. Your habits shift. Your relationships shift. Because your identity has shifted. When you say, I am no longer available for struggle, your life begins to organize itself around ease. When you say, I show up as my highest self, your days begin to reflect that energy. The words come first. They are the architects of the new foundation. Language is a signal. It tells your nervous system what to expect. It tells your energy field what to attract. It tells others how to treat you. When you speak with clarity, calm, and power, you communicate self-respect. When you speak with indecision, apology, or desperation, you communicate self-doubt. People respond to the vibration of your voice, even more than the content of your message. Speak from your future self, and people begin to treat you accordingly. The world meets you at your level of expectation. This practice requires awareness. You must begin to catch the moments when your language reflects the old self. The complaints, the fears, the stories you've repeated for years, they are not facts, they are patterns. And patterns can be interrupted. Begin to pause before you speak. Ask, who is speaking right now? Is this the version of me who feels powerless, or the one who knows her worth? Is this the voice of my limitations, or the voice of my expansion? Every sentence is a choice. Every sentence is a spell. You do not have to speak grand affirmations all day long. Sometimes the most powerful statements are simple. I've got this. This is just the beginning. I'm stepping into something greater. I can handle it. These are phrases your future self would use. Not because everything is perfect, but because she trusts herself. Speaking this way becomes a habit. A new tone begins to dominate your conversations, your inner dialogue, your presence. You become the evidence of your next level. This is not about arrogance. It is about ownership. There is no need to inflate or exaggerate. You are not trying to convince anyone. You are choosing to walk in alignment with your becoming. You are deciding to let the old story go. You are choosing to speak from the knowing that what you desire is not only possible, it's already on its way. And because it's on its way, you begin to speak like someone who knows that. You release the language of waiting. You release the vocabulary of lack. You release the identity of not yet. You step into the now of your next chapter. When you speak as your desired self, you create internal safety. You remind yourself of who you are becoming. You remind your nervous system that change is not a threat, but a homecoming. You create resonance between your words and your vision, and that resonance has power. It makes you magnetic. Opportunities begin to come. Support appears. Synchronicities unfold. Not because of luck, but because your vibration has changed and your world is responding. This requires courage. There will be moments when your outer world challenges your new language. Old conditions will test your declarations. People may not understand your shift, but your job is not to explain your transformation to others. It is to honor it within yourself. Every time you speak from your future, you strengthen that reality. Every time you declare who you are becoming, you anchor that identity. Your voice is the bridge. Your voice is the invitation. Your voice is the activator. The person you desire to become already exists. That version of you is not far away. It is a frequency you can tune into now. One of the fastest ways to tune into it is through speech. Not just what you say, but how you say it. Speak with grace. Speak with confidence. Speak with vision. Speak with presence. Let your words reflect your worth, your clarity, your direction. Let your language become the container for the life you are calling in. Speak as if it is already done. Speak as if you are already there. Speak from the self who has walked through the fire, claimed her crown, and come home to her truth. Divine law responds instantly to faith-filled commands. This is not a theory or a metaphor, but a spiritual certainty that governs the movement of energy, manifestation, and form. The universe, infinite in intelligence and precision, is always listening, always responding. It does not delay because of complexity, nor does it hesitate out of judgment. The delay comes only from the wavering mind of the one who commands without belief. But when a word is spoken in faith, clear, unwavering, and rooted in spiritual confidence, the response is immediate. Even if the physical unfolding appears gradual, the law begins its work in that instant, arranging, aligning, and moving in ways beyond the limits of human planning. Faith is the activator. It is the bridge between the invisible and the visible, between the seed and the harvest. To speak without faith is to speak empty words. sound without substance, form without force. But to speak with faith is to strike a match in the dark, to send a pulse through the field of infinite potential. Faith-filled speech is charged with a power that bypasses limitation. It is not loudness that moves the heavens. It is certainty. It is the quiet authority that says, "It is done," and leaves no room for doubt. The law is divine because it is perfect. It does not play favorites, nor does it choose based on worthiness, background, or status. It operates through alignment. The soul that speaks from faith, knowing that their word is law, aligns with the higher rhythm of creation. They do not plead, they declare. They do not wish, they decide. They do not question, they trust. This trust is not blind, it is rooted in spiritual intelligence, in the deep awareness that all things are already completed in the realm of the unseen. And that faith is the substance which brings them forth. Many speak, but few command. Many ask, but few believe they have already received. The divine law does not wait for time, it waits for alignment. The moment the heart and the word agree, the moment intention and vibration merge, the signal is sent. You may not see the manifestation with your physical eyes immediately, but in the unseen, the creation has begun. The blueprint is drawn, the structure is forming, the path is clearing. It is not a question of if, it is a matter of unfolding. Faith-filled commands are not passive. They do not beg for permission. They do not tremble with uncertainty. They speak as co-creators, as divine beings in full remembrance of their authority. When you speak in this way, you do not ask the universe to make something happen. You know it already has. You do not look for signs to convince yourself. You become the sign. You do not measure the size of the problem. You speak from the size of your power. You say, "This is so," and you move forward as if it is already done. To speak in faith requires that you silence the inner critic, the doubter, the skeptic. These voices belong to the realm of fear, not truth. They echo old programs, old wounds, old limitations. But faith speaks from the soul, not the story. Faith draws from the knowing that beneath the noise of the world is a deeper reality, one where your word is creative, your intention is sacred, and your alignment is magnetic. Every moment you speak in faith, you override the noise. You elevate your frequency. You call forth the new. There is a vast difference between hoping something will happen and knowing it has already been set in motion. Hope is valuable, but faith is foundational. Hope carries the wish, faith carries the conviction. Divine law is not moved by hesitation. It is moved by certainty. This certainty does not come from evidence, but from inner alignment. When your inner being agrees with your word, you have entered the place of power. From that place, all things are possible. You do not need to be loud to speak in faith. Some of the most powerful commands are spoken in a whisper, a silent prayer, a single word released with full presence. Yes. Now. Dune. These words, when spoken from alignment, carry more force than 1,000 affirmations spoken with doubt. The universe does not count your words, it reads your energy. It measures your belief, your clarity, your alignment with truth. Speak less if you must, but speak with more conviction. Say only what you mean. Declare only what you desire. Let your words carry weight. Faith-filled commands do not bargain with the divine. They do not say, "If I'm good enough, then this will happen," or, "Maybe if I try harder, it will come." Faith says, "It is mine," not because of merit, but because of alignment. The divine law responds to vibration, not pleading. The universe is not withholding anything. It is waiting for your yes. That yes is spoken not in desperation, but in delight. It is a yes that expects fulfillment. It is a yes that walks forward with peace. To speak in faith is to walk in vision. You see what is not yet visible and treat it as real. You honor the dream not because of what it looks like now, but because of what it truly is. Divine law sees no difference between a dream and a reality. It only sees command. It only sees the clarity of the one who speaks. If you speak from lack, you prolong lack. If you speak from fullness, you accelerate fulfillment. The law does not edit your words, it fulfills them. There is no condition that can override divine law. Circumstances may appear fixed, but the moment of faith-filled command is spoken, they begin to shift. The soul that knows their authority does not fear appearances. They speak, and they keep speaking, not to convince the world, but to remain anchored in their truth. They know the power of repetition, not as ritual, but as reinforcement. Each time they speak from faith, they deepen the groove of belief, and belief is the soil where miracles grow. Divine law is not slow, it is precise. It does not make errors, it follows instruction. You are the instructor, you are the voice it responds to. When you speak from fear, it obeys. When you speak from doubt, it obeys. But when you speak from faith, from clarity, from joy, it brings forth outcomes that transcend logic. It opens doors you did not knock on. It sends help you did not ask for. It moves in ways that astonish the mind. Not because it is miraculous, but because it is lawful. You are never without power because you are never without your word. You carry the instrument of creation with you at all times. You do not need rituals, titles, or permission. You need only the courage to speak as one who knows. You need only the willingness to trust that the unseen is more real than the seen. You need only the discipline to speak with intention rather than reaction. Faith is not a feeling. It is a stance. It is the inner yes that remains firm, regardless of what the outer world reflects. The more you speak in faith, the more natural it becomes. You no longer ask, "What if it doesn't happen?" You say, "It already has." You no longer say, "I hope it works out." You say, "It is working now." Your words become less about requesting and more about revealing. You speak not to get something, but to embody something. You speak not to fix the world, but to align with the version of the world you know exists. Faith does not wait, it declares. Faith does not wonder, it knows. Faith does not question, it commands. And the divine law responds without hesitation to the one who speaks in truth.